Are you sitting comfortably?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Are You Sitting Comfortably on East London Radio. My name is Rue. What's your name, Scott?
My name is Scott, and I really like that track. It's a good track.
It is. Do you know who it's by and why I'm playing it at the very beginning of the show about a lady in a van?
Well, I have read the briefing sheet that producer Joe gives us every week. However, I wasn't paying a lot of attention. I'm going to
You're
guess...
spoiling the illusion we create here.
Oh, what, that we're professionals?
Yes, that we just come in and that we just rattle this show off willy-nilly.
We do, kind of. There's quite a lot of willy-nilly going on. Anyway, I'm going to guess at Hans Zimmer, because I saw that name on the sheet and I know what a fan you are of his. Am I right? Let me check.
What, that I'm a fan of Hans Zimmer?
No, it is Hans Zimmer. Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
I think occasionally Hans Zimmer gets a little carried away with his... But for the most part,
dramatic horn.
he's quite. He is the most original sounding.
Zimmer?
Yeah,
Hans Zimmer.
Gentleman making music for movies, or at least he was a short while ago. Like when Inception came out, it was the first time you'd heard. Yeah, exactly. A noise like that in Hollywood, and ever since everybody's been doing it. In fact, if you go and listen to the soundtrack to Elysium, you will hear some very Inception-esque music occurring, drumming, banging, and even some parts that just sound like they're lifted. And nobody told Hans Zimmer.
So we've got lots of banging and dramatic horn, and we're only 5 minutes in.
Yes,
that's
I know.
impressive, isn't it?
Yes, usually it takes us
at least 10. We like a bit of a run up, don't we?
I was going to say I was going to say that, but then I thought it never really takes us that long to land ourselves in that kind of territory.
We can dream.
So Hans Zimmer, well, he's a bit worried.
I actually is this? You still haven't answered the question. Maybe you are. Maybe this is the answer.
What's that?
What's he got to do with a lady in a van?
Nothing at all.
Good. All right. Jolly good. Carry on.
Well, no, I just thought because we've both sat down to watch the new Superman versus Batman or Batman versus Superman trailer.
Which we'll come on to.
Reveal our
disdain.
Yes, exactly. Very shortly. But I wanted to say that Hans Zimmer's worried about the fact that he composed the music for the Dark Knight trilogy.
Right.
And he doesn't want his new soundtrack to sort of be matched to that in any way, to be equated to that previous universe, which doesn't exist now. That's done, that's dealt with, is wrapped up. So in order to make his sound new, if that makes sense, and refreshing, he's enlisted the help of Junkie XL, who you might remember from the Mad Max soundtrack as well.
I didn't know it was him, but I do like the Mad Max soundtrack.
Yes.
I like everything about that film. It's one of my favourites of the year.
It's as you just heard then with the Inception soundtrack. It seems whenever Junkie XL is on board, you've got this wonderful mix of kind of classic Hollywood blockbuster sound with, I wouldn't say techno, but it's certainly...
it's got a little bit of kind of computer gamey almost.
Exactly.
Or kind of, in my head, it kind of puts me a little bit in mind of almost Terminator 2.
Well, there's
that
something...
kind of electric-y, techno-y stuff.
Modern, futuristic-y kind
funk.
of... Yeah.
I like the word funk.
Be careful with that word on the radio.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. If I've offended anyone with my funking, please let me know and I'll stop doing it.
Yes, just don't funk too loudly.
Oh, well,
and
I get that a lot, actually.
And don't do it near the board.
No, I don't. All that expensive electrical equipment.
So, Hans Zimmer, Junkie XL, set to be perhaps the best things about Batman versus Superman, because the trailer is... dreadful. It's dreadful. I mean, you say it sounds like a video game. It looks like a video game. And not one from PS4. We're talking PS2 era video game here. You know, cutscene stuff where everything was inexplicably shiny.
Press A to not die.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. All those kind of QuickTime events and shizzle.
I'm not at all excited, and mainly because of what you've pointed out. There's nothing left to see.
No, this is true. For anyone who's not seen it yet, I'm gonna ask very nicely for producer Joe to tweet it out on our Twitters very, very shortly. But yeah,
should I also make a point of We're about to spoil a trailer.
Well, it's a trailer.
And the entire movie, because
the
everything
movie
we want to see in the
spoils
movie is in the trailer.
No, the trailer spoils the movie. It's, Batman versus Superman is the name of the film, followed by Dawn of Justice, which means nothing. That's a silly thing.
Doesn't mean anything,
It's a bit
does it?
like Terminator Genesis, which, again, means nothing.
It could just be Batman versus Superman. What's wrong with that, eh?
Exactly. Or
Bat v Man. No, Super Bat Man.
Right, yes. Anyway.
Sorry.
Well,
you've got to come up with something like snappy and short and
memorable,
rather than all this the Rise of the Planet of the Apes and all that stuff. Like, come on.
My favourite was Dawn of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
It reminds me of that old. Did you ever do that back in the gay bars of the day?
There are still gay bars.
Yes, I know, but this is the olden days of gay bars.
Right.
When they used to play The Court of King Caractacus by Rolf Harris. Did you ever play that?
No, but I'm not sure what that
Well, it's a song that kind of builds up over time, and it starts off with the ladies of the harem of the Court of King Caractacus go passing by.
Yes.
And then it builds up, and it becomes like the boys have put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the Court of King Caractacus. And then it goes a lot.
Well, that's going to be the fourth Planet of the Apes movie.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's just going to be the morning of the tea of the meeting before the day of the dawn of the rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Go marching by. Anyway, I've forgotten what we were talking about. Batman versus Superman. Yes, it's the whole plot of that film's in the trailer. Batman versus Superman. We know from the trailer that fairly early on, him and Superman, Batman and Superman, join forces and go after a big lumpy bad guy.
Well, we also know that Batman survives because he's in the new Batman movie that's already
true.
slated to come out afterwards.
And
Superman
not
survives
gonna die.
because he's super.
Yeah, and we imagine Wonder Woman's going to live because I bet there's a Wonder Woman film in the works as well.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't.
I just don't like how everything is so
Pants. That was not the word I wanted to use.
so glossy.
Well, it's
meant to be hard and
this is the thing.
Surely.
I think this is the thing because for me, Marvel's always the one that goes big and explosive and
not
and
since
glossy.
Man of Steel.
Well, but then DC are supposed to be the darker, grittier, smaller. Everything I've ever read in the DC comics is a lot more character focused, and it doesn't go for the big saving the world stuff. I mean, if you think of like the last set of the Batman movies, it was never about more than Gotham. It was never trying to take over the world. It was always Batman and the relationship he had with the bad guy, like with the Scarecrow, with Joker.
You can't avoid the world being brought into play when you've got Superman, who's an alien. The world's not going to shrug it off. That can't apply just to Gotham. And
But my point is more that DC's always been more character focused and more on the interplay and the darkness and the duality inherent in man between good and evil and all that kind of thing. And it's really quite interesting. Whereas Marvel's always gone the kind of Captain America, for example. It is obviously just a hangover from the war, but still, he's got that kind of peace and truth and justice, and this is all the things that I stand for, even though nowadays that doesn't work. And that's nice because in like the Winter Soldier, and as we're going to see in Civil War, those values that he was brought up on in the 30s don't fit with the world today because everything's awful and we're all miserable. Anyway, but DC's trying to go shiny and glossy and big explosions and stuff when they're better. I mean,
well, you know why, don't you?
Because it gets bums on seats.
Because of the financial success of Marvel. And
yes,
they've made a formula that works. But what DC are missing is that we know this.
Yeah.
We know what they're doing, and we don't appreciate it. We want them to do their own thing, which is why The Dark Knight was successful. I didn't like the last one. I thought it was awful and full of plot holes. But I appreciated the fact they weren't just cloning the Marvel setup.
No, exactly, and that was nice. That's exactly my point. It was different. It was dark. It was all about those. The first two definitely, and the third one a bit iffy. Were all about Batman and his relationship with other people and how it was very tight and it was very intense and it was very kind of fun. Whereas now it's just good guys versus other good guys. No, wait, it's all the good guys versus the bad guys. And don't get me started on Jesse Eisenberg.
Throw caution to the wind.
Who said?
Throw caution to the wind.
Can't think of a clue at the moment. But you were talking earlier about good and evil.
I do that a lot, yeah.
We're going to talk about that again.
Ooh.
Very shortly. So why not play Duel of Fates?
Why not?
From Star Wars.
All right.
By John Williams, because we're going to be talking Star Wars.
John Williams.
Now, if you need music to listen to while you wrap your presents hastily this year before Christmas, make it Jewel of Fates, and you'll be going very fast with that.
That's very dramatic, that. There was a lot of timpani in there. I like a lot of timpani.
Timpani?
The big bom 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 drums.
Oh, yes, yeah. Like the one, it sounds like they're in like the O2 Arena or something. Yeah. Yes. Real presence. That was pretty much sort of Darth Maul's thing, wasn't it?
Okay.
As far as I recall. I remember I liked Darth Maul. I wasn't allowed, though, to have a poster of Darth Maul up in my room because his face was too satanic.
Okay. That's fair. Okay.
It's a strange idea, though, isn't it, having that man's face on your wall?
But then this makes me think that you had secretly hidden him away inside your locker at school or something. You know, like you would with a secret crush, that you had a Darth Maul poster hidden under your bed or something that you would look at every night. And
I didn't. No.
Okay.
Well, as my main villainous love affair was with Scorpius, as you know, from Farscape, the greatest science fiction show ever made.
I want to see your cosplay. I think we should find a photo of you in your rubber gimp suit.
Yes, I wore a gimp mask to Pontins one, to dress as Scorpius to a science fiction convention. We're asking the question...
Throw caution to the wind.
Who said that? It isn't a Sith Lord. Interestingly, though, people are starting to think on the internet that Jar Jar Binks could have been, should have been, would have been. What do you think?
That's a good segue. I like that. Well done there. We've another trip to YouTube just before the show started to have a look at this.
One of our most fascinating trips. I'm convinced.
Intriguing, certainly.
Utterly convinced.
Go on then. Well, lay out your argument.
Well, Jar Jar Binks. Right. Okay. So the prequels. George Lucas's big idea with the prequels was that it would mirror and rhyme the episodes. What 5 to what was it? 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6. Yes. And he did that with a lot of things. I can't list them off now. I can't remember. But one of the mirrors would have been Jar Jar Binks to Yoda. So this kind of insignificant character who's introduced as comic relief, revealed to be something bigger later on. In fact, not just something bigger, sort of the main sort of thrust behind the story.
Yes, without Yoda, certainly, Luke could never have learnt the ways of the Force, and so the whole film would have just fallen over. Yeah.
So Jar Jar Binks would have been revealed to have been who became later Count Dooku, because Jar Jar Binks was removed thanks to fan backlash, and Count Dooku just injected last minute. So, all the way through The Phantom Menace, now you've got people looking at clips very closely to see what Jar Jar Binks is up to. And considering he's a CGI character, every single thing was done on purpose and would have been, discussed in detail by the people making him. And he's doing things like, you can see him moving his mouth and suspiciously moving his eyes during a conversation, manipulating perhaps what people are saying so that the plot moves in his favour. We all know that he ends up, what's that big place with all the chairs?
Senate.
Yes, in the Senate. In the Senate.
Big place.
Pretty much
DFS?
Handing power over to that bloke who's a bit bald.
Senator Palpatine.
That's the one.
Who then becomes the Emperor.
Precisely. And did you know that they're from the same planet as well? But
I didn't know that, but I don't know if that's relevant. Anyway, carry on.
All kinds of things, like he's fiddling with robotic bits and pieces, and he's aware that the Jedis are coming when he wouldn't have known, and all that sort of thing.
And he's next to Queen Amidala whenever she makes an important decision, and the droids hate him and things like that. And
because obviously his special forces wouldn't work on their robot mind.
It's interesting. I remain a little skeptical. I think perhaps
George Lucas said he's the key. He's the key, and he's recently said he doesn't want to do Star Wars because nobody lets him try anything new.
Well, yeah,
that was obviously what he was trying to do.
Well, I think there is a lot of evidence for what you're saying. I think perhaps you find what you're looking for in a Star Wars film anyway.
Well, he certainly did on the video, didn't he?
Well, he did on the video.
A full 8 minutes of evidence.
It is, and it is quite compelling. But like you say, because of all the backlash, Count Dooku appears from nowhere as this apparent puppet master and fights with Yoda. And
that fight would have been so much better with Yoda and Jar Jar. It would have been leaping about.
It would have been two CGI characters fighting each other.
But at least it wasn't
just about video game fights. That would have been the worst.
No, but I mean, this was like 2000s when it was all kind of new anyway. So perhaps we would have been a bit more lenient. Perhaps the series would have been redeemed because everybody hated Jar Jar. Perhaps then the hate already there, he would have fit right in to the whole Sith thing.
I think,
and we would have all loved to hate this thing.
I think perhaps, yeah. I mean, there was enough that he gets promoted to the Senate himself, Jar Jar, and doesn't he have the deciding vote on whether or not to allow the Emperor to become the Emperor, as it were? And that was supposed to be his. Oh look, they've put an idiot in charge who's going to do the thing that sets up all the other movies, and that in itself was a bit like, oh god, what a prat. I'm wary of my words now. But at the same time, I think if he chickened out and removed and swapped him for Count Dooku in episode 2, so Count Dooku becomes the bad guy there, I think we're unlikely to see any kind of further development on that plotline.
Now it'd probably be a bit too late.
Yeah, and I can see where that plotline would have gone, but they cut it. They stopped it. And now I feel like if they try and bring it back now, effectively 5 episodes later, where he's not been in them at all. Was he in number 3?
He was in for 2 scenes, I think, in number 3, and he only had 2 words to say.
Bless.
See what I mean? Why would he have that much screen time in Phantom Menace if there wasn't something more to do? It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It just doesn't make sense.
And it does add an extra layer of him being the Phantom Menace.
Well, yes, exactly.
As in, yeah, behind the scenes, puppet mastering everything.
And there's a little bit of foreshadowing because Liam Neeson at one point, when they're being chased by the fish, and then that gets eaten by a bigger fish or something, he always says there's always a bigger fish, which is foreshadowing. Jar Jar is a fish. Did you know that Snoke, who is the leader of the Emperor, is supposed to appear in this new Star Wars film coming out?
Episode 7.
Snoke, in some other language, I'm not sure which, means fish.
Interesting.
So, maybe Jar Jar is Snoke.
Or maybe, more excitingly, maybe what was Boss Nass is the secret Emperor, played by Brian Blessed. I'd love Brian Blessed to be the Emperor. That'd be fantastic. Be splendid.
Well, what about if Jar Jar was played by Brian Blessed?
What, instead of Misa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Can you imagine Brian Blessed? Misa this and that. No, I don't think it would work.
You just blew off their ears at home.
I'm terribly sorry.
Do you think that you would be able to play a young Han Solo in the new Han Solo movie?
I don't know whether I'm okay with this. I think it seems like we're just milking that poor udder on the cash cow even more than is necessary.
Well, they're going to do a Yoda movie. Wait a minute. This is the opportunity they've waited for. This is the answer to our conundrum just a minute ago.
What?
You know they want to do a Star Wars movie every year. They
Do
want
they?
to release one every single year.
Flipping heck.
So they're going to do lots of these solo ones.
Jar
Jar's story could finally be finished.
What? But then what would the story be? Because it needs to exist alongside all the other episodes where it didn't. Where
we'd be watching him pulling the strings from the back
But then
rooms.
what happens to him? He just wanders off after he goes. I'm bored of this. I'm going to go and swim somewhere.
You do the individual Jar Jar film, and then you reveal him as in the main trilogy, new trilogy. You reveal him as the big bad. Perhaps that's how this trilogy is going to end.
But then, if they do that, are they going to get a Jar Jar film done and out before the trilogy ends? Aren't they already filming 8 and 9 or whatever?
No, are they? Sure.
I don't know. I assume that once you've got one of the 3 into production, you'd start on the next 2 as well. I mean, they won't be back to back, but I'm sure.
Well, I suppose they can guarantee a financial success, can't they? But you never know. Everybody was very excited about the Phantom Menace as well.
Yes. I'd like to go on record. I'd like you to go on record here as telling me how you feel about Jar Jar Binks, even before you saw this Sith Lord theory.
Well, before I saw the Sith Lord theory, I didn't think he was the greatest invention, but at the same time, I certainly had nothing against him. And
You're wrong, and I hate you.
No. Look, he's just a bloke in the story. People seem to think, with things like Star Wars, I'm sure I've discussed this on a show before, and with things like Star Trek, they have ownership. If you're a fan, you have ownership, and the story should go my way. No, this is George Lucas's story, and he should have been able to tell it however he wants.
I didn't stop him.
Even if Jar Jar didn't become a Sith Lord. Jar Jar was part of George Lucas's vision, and he shouldn't have been bullied into removing him from the franchise.
Well, I agree. Very much so. It's the filmmaker's vision, not the people going to watch it.
Exactly.
Because
And
if you
did it
try
make a
and please
difference?
all of the people, you're never going to manage it, are you?
Exactly, because he changed it and people still weren't happy. And I'll tell you why, because it doesn't make any sense now. Because they've taken Jar Jar out, shoved Dooku in, and
That sounds wrong.
And now you haven't got.
I've never shoved a Dooku in.
You haven't got an arc.
No, you ruined your arc with a Dooku right in the middle. But
Sorry, that was
anyway,
just a
do you feel
rant.
better?
Yes, I do. I feel much better, actually.
Okay, good. Deep breaths.
I might
Do you want some tea?
cut that
Do you
rent
want some
out and
tea?
upload it on its own to Audio Boom and
I
just.
think you should. Yeah, let's get it out there.
We're asking the question: who said?
Throw caution to the wind. Throw caution to the wind.
Any ideas? You can tweet us at ELR Comfortably on Twitter.
Yeah.
And you can use the Facebook page, facebook.com/ELR Comfortably.
Please give us your reactions to the Sith Lord theory for Jar Jar Binks, to any thoughts around the Batman vs Superman trailer, what we have already talked about. And if you want to listen to any of our back catalogue, you can go to www. God, that feels old. No one does that anymore, do they?
Nobody does, but
No.
they used to a lot.
Yeah. No need.
What a waste of
Or
time.
you could go http:// www. elrcomfortably.co.uk.
Shall we play some music from The Lady in the Van?
Go on then.
I think we should.
I
This
love
is
that
Two
film.
Women Tango.
Ooh.
Lady in the Van.
That was nice.
Yeah, it was. I think that the title of the movie is a bit sort of like Ladies in the Van. Sounds a bit like sex workers sort of being bundled into the back of a van. Lady in the van. Lady in the. Do you want to have a go on my lady in the van?
Oh, can you imagine Dame Maggie playing a sex worker?
Yes.
Okay. Your
I'm
brain
pretty
is
sure-
a weird place that I
I'm-
never want to visit.
I'm pretty sure Dame Maggie could play whatever she liked.
I'm
and
sure
do it
she
well.
could. Well, she's amazing. Yeah.
I think it should have been the lady and the van.
But she was in the van. It's not like she was having she had any kind of relationship with the van other than using it as a place to live.
What about the van?
What had a lady in it?
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Right, so you want to give us 30 seconds worth of what happens in The Lady in the Van.
Oh, all right then.
So let me just find my clock. There we are.
Your what, sorry?
My clock.
Okay.
Right, in 3, 2, 1. What happens?
Okay, so it's all about Alan Bennett, who lives on a nice posh street in Camden, where this homeless lady lives in a van. She moves up and down the street and stuff, riding around, and then eventually they come and paint yellow lines, so she can't do that anymore, and she ends up living on his driveway in her van and pooing in bags and and stuff like that, and she smells bad, and it's all about their relationship and things like that, and he tries to find out bits more about her life here and there, and yeah, that's about it. I think she smells bad.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure you hit the emotional nail on the head there. It's a movie about, human kindness and
Oh.
charity and being nice to one another.
Definitely.
When there's
And
no benefit in it for you. You just talk about poo in bags and vans.
there was a lot of poo.
Well,
He even says that in the movie.
he says that there's too much about poo, yes.
Mm.
Is that a spoiler?
No.
No. Okay, I'll keep my horn to myself.
Chance would be a fine thing for you to keep your horn to yourself.
And what were our thoughts?
I'm a big fan of Alan Bennett. I've
not read his stuff. I've had a book
No.
for a long time, Talking Heads.
It's very good. I recommend reading it because they're all quite 5-10 minute monologues. So you can
Yeah.
read one or two. Or it could be a toilet read. You could pop it in the
You
toilet.
and toilets.
Well, it's I do need a wee. Maybe that's it. But it's very good, and I like Alan Bennett. So I knew what I was getting into when I walked in there. It was
Well-
going to be sweet but bittersweet and kind of
You like Alan.
emotionally moving, and yeah.
You like Alan Bennett.
I
You
do.
like Alan Bennett, but do you like Alex Jennings? Rather?
Alex Jennings as Alan Bennett. Yes, I thought he was brilliantly cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about? See, what bothered me about the movie?
Mm.
The only thing really, I was just I was in the mood for a nice, quiet sort of British thing,
Yeah.
and
It's one of those movies where not a lot happens. It's like there's no huge plot development or anything.
yeah, it's just sort of
more-
a slice of life.
Yeah, which is nice. Sometimes that can be really fun. And I've spoken to there's a filmmaker that I met at Iris actually whose favourite films are this kind of. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. It's nothing big. It's just a little slice of someone's life that's told in a way that's interesting. And yeah, so.
But what bothered me, the only thing
Mhm.
that I'm not sure worked, but I
Yes.
appreciate the fact that it was something different to do. stylistically speaking.
I know where you're going with this, but carry on.
Alex Jennings, the fact that there were two of him running around. Well, two Alan Bennetts. One, his writer self, and the other, his life self. And obviously the only way that he could get around the problem of not being able to monologue was to have these two have a conversation occasionally with each other.
Yeah.
It worked in that he was able to reveal to us in that way which parts of the story were creative license kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which was a nice touch. But at the same time, what's wrong with the voiceover?
Well, I think a whole movie's worth of voiceover would have been quite a lot, and also I think I quite liked the interplay and the conflict between the two halves of him. Like, you know, when you're in two minds about something, which is something that comes up in the film, rather than just having him monologuing, voicing over, going,
I don't know what.
Well, I don't know whether I would have done that, or perhaps I'm thinking about doing this, but I don't know if I should.
But there was a voiceover as well as the two.
Yeah, definitely.
So
well, yeah,
that's three voices.
Well, there was the narrator, which was Alan Bennett in a kind of retrospective look, telling this story, and then there were the two parts of him as characters within the story.
So he was telling the story of himself talking to himself.
Yes.
But what was the code about their clothes? Was there a code?
I think
sometimes they were wearing the same clothes, other times they were wearing different clothes.
Slightly different clothes. I think perhaps, as I recall, his public self, his social self, was always slightly better dressed. His writer self was a bit scruffier. I think mostly it was just a way to tell the two apart. But yeah, he was a bit more relaxed he was for whenever the outward self was a lot more kind of straight-laced, whereas I think the writer self was a little bit more relaxed. The writer self was able to say things that...
Yes, he was very sarcastic.
Yeah.
That's how I would tell them apart. I mean, I was aware that sometimes one was wearing a tie and the other wasn't, but I thought, that doesn't help me. I'm going to have to wait for you to talk, thanks.
Yeah, well, you know, if you've got one person playing both
because it wasn't consistent, that's what the whole clothes thing.
No, but I think it was just a part of the differentiating between the two parts, the two voices of the protagonist. And, you know, it's kind of a way of visualizing that idea of, you know, when you think of something witty that you should have said later, or when you're thinking back over something, going, well, I wish I just punched him in the face and then like beaten the crap out of him and impressed everyone around me. It would have been amazing. And
sorry, is this what happens in your head
all the time? Is
that what you think about when you leave the studio?
What?
If only I'd punched him in the face.
Do you want me to answer that question?
No, not at all. Well, okay, so what about Maggie then? How did Maggie do as the lady in the van?
I love Maggie, and I think she does Dottie very well. Die? Me? You'll know when I die.
Yes.
And I think and she was the voice was very, very Alan Bennett. I think there was a lot more of his mum in the lady than there was
in the mum.
Well, there was a lot of it in the mum as well, but I think in a lot of ways, both the ladies were mother figures in his life, both kind of Dotty and more of a burden than anything else, but he looks after them out of duty and yeah.
Well, in my view, I often see Maggie Smith playing very powerful women who are head of the table and all that stuff.
Downton
I don't watch
style.
Downton, but I'm obviously aware of her presence there.
Yeah, and McGonagall.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like, what else has she been in? Some other stuff.
It's refreshing to see her cut loose from that and able to just have a bit of fun. But that's not to say that this is all just comedic nonsense, because she does make it convincing that she's a lady in a van who has a history that she's keeping under wraps, that she's a complicated, layered lady in the van.
Definitely. And I think part of the film, in fact, the main thrust of the narrative of the film is Alan Bennett kind of realizing this and then slowly unraveling it and kind of learning more about her and things like that. In a lot of ways, you know, we're told stuff. At the beginning, we get a lot more of an introduction to her than he does. I don't want to give anything away, but and so then for a little while he's playing catch up with us as the audience. But then once that happens and he catches up, it's as much of a revelation to us as it is to him, and that's quite a way of...
Yes, but I thought that whole twisty bit that we find out at the end of the film should have
steady.
Well, it should have been more of a reveal, like pulling the sheet off and going, "What?"
That's
rather
not
than
not Alan Bennett's style.
Yeah,
though.
but it's just a bloke going, "Oh, about that twist." Yeah, this is the twist.
Yeah, but that's
and then
that's
Alan
how
Bennett
he
goes,
does it.
"Oh, really? That's the twist."
Yeah, well, that's it.
And the credits roll.
For so much in Alan Bennett stuff it's a lot more true to life. There's no dun dun duh and stuff like that. There's just people kind of being people, and it's quiet, and I like it.
What did we make of James Corden's role? His starring role as the Vegetable Man.
Oh, yeah. I can't stand James Corden anyway.
Well, he was on all the marketing stuff. He was on all the trailers.
Well, he's a big name, isn't he? I'm pulling a face. You can't tell because this is radio, but I'm pulling a face.
He crops up in everything, even where you least suspect. He'll probably be revealed as Snoke in Star Wars. But did you leave the cinema?
I did, yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now. I'd be stuck in there, dying of diabetes from eating all the pick and mix.
Yes, that's true.
And all
I
the
do
Tango
love a
Eyes
good
Blast.
floppy egg.
You do, don't you? Bless you. I didn't get you any this time. Sorry.
No. I like the fact that it's a mixture of both the rubber jellified stuff and the, if jellified's a word, and the softer kind of squidgy.
But you don't go
it's a blend.
You don't go for like the alligators that are or the crocodiles, whatever, the really big ones.
No, it's too much jelly.
Oh, I see.
You can't wrap the jelly in the mush. What was I going to say? Yes, did you leave the cinema?
Bit of any discussion we've ever had.
Did you leave with your tongue? You wrap it round with your tongue as you chew. Did you leave the
I
cinema?
feel a bit funny with you saying.
Did you leave the cinema?
I did. God, stop asking.
Feeling as though you wanted to commit random acts of kindness and house a woman in an automobile of your
against her will.
Yes.
Get in. Go on.
Trap an elderly woman on your drive.
I'll bring you a plastic bag. I often feel like I want to commit random acts of kindness.
I wonder what you're going to say.
Well, yeah, but I don't often.
I do
want
sometimes.
To.
I just do.
Yeah,
you know when you think when you're actually aware of the thought and you think actually I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to buy this homeless person a sandwich and see how it makes me feel.
Good for you.
And then
I think that's something everyone listening to this show could do. You know?
Yes, absolutely, and especially Christmas time is because it really bothers me, upsets me. Everybody doing all this mindless shopping, buying tat they don't need, cheap plastic Santas left, right, and centre, and they can't even just stop and acknowledge a homeless man.
Exactly.
Or woman.
I agree.
Anybody in need.
Yeah, and you know maybe they'll put a couple of quid in the Christmas box or something like that. There's so much more we could do.
Thing is, though, I suppose there's a lot that we want to forget by shopping. Well, retail therapy. There's a lot going on in the world at the moment. Buy things, feel safe. I must have things.
That doesn't work for me.
No, it doesn't work for me either.
You know?
But in the moment, some people get off on it, don't they?
I'd much rather use, much like you say, do good things for other people. That's you know what, listeners. If nothing else from this, if you don't take away, you know, if you don't want to believe that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord or that Maggie Smith is a convincing woman who poos in a bag, then just take away the thought of going out and doing something nice.
You don't actually see her pooing in bags, by the way.
Well, no.
That would change the tone of the movie.
Wouldn't it just?
And it would be more like one lady, one van.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, go out, do nice things for people. If that is, you know, what you take away from this episode, then maybe that's for the best.
So what we're saying is that The Lady in the Van is a movie that's actually timed rather well for the Christmas period.
Perhaps. Yeah, it's not a Christmas movie.
It's not a Christmas movie, but it's got that kind of...
The milk of human kindness.
Yeah, they just need to shove up some tinsel on it. Would have been. It's a shame they didn't. But I suppose that wouldn't be the realism that Alan Bennett was going for.
There were flags. At one point, she got very patriotic. She had flags on her van. I'd just also like to say about The Lady in the Van that Frances de la Tour is in it, and I love her. She's amazing.
She's from Open All Hours, right?
No, she's from Rising Damp. And
Open All Hours?
Was she in Open All Hours?
Yes, I'm sure she was. Right, Don't quote me on it.
All right. But yeah, she was the giantess in Harry Potter, the one that Hagrid falls in love with. Madame, I want to say Delacroix, but that's not right. That was Fleur Delacroix.
She was very tall.
Yes.
What did you think of George Fenton? We're going to play some more. Fenton! We're going to play some more of his music.
Oh, from The Lady in the Van.
From The Lady in the Van.
Yeah. Again, I didn't really clock much of the music. I don't listen to it like you do, but it all worked. Everything in there.
What do you mean you don't listen to it? Surely you're in the habit now. 20 shows on.
Nah.
Well, I think he did rather well. Let's play Walk Through the Cemetery.
Oh, yes.
Nice bit of gentle British cinema music there by George Allen. Sorry,
You were right.
I was just trying to do something over here.
Was it something that you should do on your own?
Yes, I was doing a Maggie Smith in a plastic bag.
Oh, dear.
That's going to be a new... No. We're asking the question.
Doing a Dame Maggie.
Who said this?
Throw caution to the wind.
Ooh, that's what I say just before
Well.
I do a Dame Maggie in a plastic bag.
Oh, dear.
Throw caution to the wind.
Okay, so we're going to reveal the answer. But first, I wanted to show you what George Fenton can do. Because it's not all gentle British comedy. He also did music for something called Zero Theorem. Did you watch it? It had Oberhauser in it.
No, I didn't. What's it about?
A hugely talented but socially isolated computer operator is tasked by management to prove the Zero Theorem, that the universe ends as nothing, rendering life meaningless, but meaning is what he already craves. Now, I had to read that off of the internet
bleak.
because I was thinking, I can't remember. There was all kinds of strange, weird vision stuff and stylistic things happening. And I remember leaving the cinema thinking, well, that didn't make any sense.
Okay.
And I think, in a
Oh,
sense,
good. Well,
that was what it was going for, because
right.
it was saying that nothing makes any sense. So perhaps this movie doesn't make sense either.
So searching for meaning is ultimately meaningless.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Excellent.
Shall we do
Brilliant.
Jobies Part 3?
Well, that's a really happy note to carry on with, isn't it? Yeah.
No,
go
but this
for it.
music's not bad.
All right.
It's not very Lady in the Van, is it?
No,
It's
there's
nice
a lot more
and
funk there.
techno.
She'd need to have a disco ball
I was-
in her van for that one to work.
That's true, I can imagine that. So we've been asking the question, who said this?
Throw caution to the wind.
Who said?
Throw caution to the wind.
I actually have no idea. I want to
You
guess.
don't know?
I want to guess and say, is it Robert Carlyle?
No.
Oh.
It's Billy Connolly
Ah!
as Wilf in Quartet, which you know I like.
Yes.
Which also has Maggie Smith in.
It does.
It's a very good movie. Here's a
There's
little
our
bit
tenuous
of a
link.
longer clip.
You're a woman, Lucy Cogan.
Well, I'm flattered, but I have professional ethics to uphold.
Throw caution to the wind. What if we were to make beautiful music together? Your husband would never know.
That's reassuring, Wilf.
Think about it, eh?
No, Wilf.
No one would ever know.
I will know, Wilf.
Older man, vintage wine, seasoned wood.
Yes.
Oh, Billy Connolly's Seasoned Wood.
Were you seduced by Billy Connolly?
No, I found him a bit creepy there, to be honest.
Yes, I thought so too.
but he's
the
he is
movie's
good.
more light-hearted than it sounded.
Okay, good. He's also in a movie called a very small Australian movie actually called The Man Who Sued God, which is fantastic and not very well known. It's about he's a fisherman whose boat is destroyed in a storm. And he tries to get insurance, and it's called an act of God, and so the insurance people go, not paying you.
I think I saw this advertised.
It's a few years ago now, might even be late 90s or maybe early 2000s, but it's a very, very good movie, and it's worth a watch.
Well, I was impressed with him in Quartet. I mean, I'd not really seen him do proper acting before I'd watched Quartet, but he heartwarming stuff,
Yeah.
Quartet. You really need to check it out.
All right.
We'll be going out to music from
Right.
Quartet.
Jolly good, but not yet.
But not yet, no, because we're going to just mention once again that ELR is fundraising.
Yes, come on, people, give them just a little bit of money, the cost of a coffee,
Exactly.
or a pint,
Yes.
or a house in Hampshire.
And we can stay here talking about ladies in vans.
yeah. And if you don't, we'll come to your house and talk at you until you do.
Are you excited about the Christmas party tonight? We're having our
The
ELR, Christmas party.
I'm apprehensive because I tend to get drunk and make a fool of myself at these kind of things.
What do you
And-
mean? Well, it's not that kind of party.
Well, I can get drunk and make a fool of myself anywhere. Thank you very much.
I'm
I'm quite
ima-
good at it.
I'm imagining cheese and wine
Oh,
and
God, that's just fart repression.
and piano
Oh.
music and people talking about politics. No, it's not going to be like that, is it?
I can imagine if we're doing cheese and wine and piano music. I want station manager Aaron. He's not station manager, is he? What's his title? Important boss of everything. I want important boss of everything Aaron in a cocktail dress, laying on top of a piano, singing a song about how he's been done wrong. I think that'd be fantastic.
You're going to need to post a picture of Erin for people to be able to visualize this, because if people are listening in from I don't know, New Zealand.
Gosh.
They're not going to have a clue what we're talking about.
Just the idea of Aaron.
I think
this
it should
lovely
be you
northern
on the
man.
piano.
You want me on the piano
Yes.
in a cocktail dress?
Yeah, I can
Sing
imagine.
about how I've been done wrong.
Yes, I can imagine you've got lots to say.
Oh, well, I come on here and talk to you every week. Is that not enough? What more do you need?
Well, if you want to donate a bit of cash to ELR to keep us going strong, you just need to go to, well, you've got two options. You can go to our website, elrcomfortably.co.uk, have a look at our Are You Blogging Comfortably section. Yes, I know. Like what I did there. And you can have a look also at eastlondonradio.org. .uk, and I'm sure you'll be able to find the information pretty easily there. You can also use that website to listen to our back catalogue too. The options are endless.
There are so many. In fact, I've had a thought. If we reach our crowdfunding goal before the deadline, I will
Strip naked and sing on the piano.
Not naked. I will wear a cocktail dress and I will sing a song on top of a piano.
Okay.
I will make that happen if we hit our target.
All
so
right.
there's your option.
And the video will go on the homepage.
Yeah, you can put that video wherever you like.
Okay. All right. Well, there's an incentive for the audience. Who's playing the piano?
I don't know.
I would offer, but I perhaps we should get Dame
she
Maggie
plays
in.
Yeah, maybe.
She seems to do that quite well.
She does, bless her.
What are we watching next week as well?
I don't know. We're getting very close to Christmas, aren't we?
Well, it's going to be The Good Dinosaur, surely.
Oh.
Now,
which
we've watched The Lady in the Van, which is all about
a lady in a van.
good Christmas spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not about good Christmas spirit, but it's got the spirit of Christmas in it, even though it's not a Christmas movie.
It's got
you know what I mean.
Kindness in it.
Exactly. So The Good Dinosaur, I think, is going to be very much the same thing. It seems to be coming out at around about the right time for a Pixar movie to make you cry. And they always do.
Yeah, well, Inside Out. Very
Inside
nearly
Out was
got
a
me.
bit teary-eyed.
Yeah, that one.
But did you
kicked me
get
in the emotional tits?
Did you get a lump in your throat over Maggie Smith?
Not
when she was pooing in plastic bags.
Not particularly, but then I know what to expect from Alan Bennett, so I'd steeled myself against it. It
Really?
didn't make me cry, but then I don't think it was meant to. I've read other bits of his that are, like some of the talking heads are really quite emotionally charged. They're wonderful. But no, I thought you were going to say as an antidote to happiness and kindness at Christmas, we're going to watch Krampus.
Well, no, I'd like to, and we will squeeze that in at some point. It's just that don't you think that people are saving their money to go and see stuff? The average moviegoer who doesn't go and see absolutely everything is probably not going to go and see Krampus. They're probably saving their cash so that they can watch the new Star Wars.
Yeah,
but
probably.
It's our job to see it so that you don't have to,
Yeah.
and we'll try and squeeze it in where we can.
Yep. We'll squeeze
something
in a Krampus.
we say a lot.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly on.
Yeah.
Shall we go out to some quartet?
Let's.
Yeah, I think we
All right,
should. See you next time.
Join us
Bye.
next week for another thrilling episode of Are You Sitting Comfortably?